Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Stand Up Speakeasy. My name is Sreth Nay, and every single episode I bring a comic from the Central Time Zone, and hopefully I'll branch out to the Mountain and the Pacific and the Eastern too. But for this episode, I'm bringing on to the screen from Chicago, Donovan. Donovan, welcome to the show. How are you?
Good. How you doing?
I'm doing quite well. Thanks for being on the show today.
Yeah, very much. Thank you for having me. I have snuck away. I'm in Pacific time zone though, so I'm in LA right now this second, but I am Chicago based.
Awesome, fantastic. How's LA treating you?
It's very warm, but it's very shut down. I've been here almost a month for January, and looking to subletting a place in East Hollywood, trying to figure some things out. But it's pretty shut down. Mostly just enjoying the warmth, getting some work done in the warmth instead of the cold. Go outside at night.
Good call, good call. And so you're the creator of the comedy pickup, as well as one half of the duo, Donovan and Donovan. What got you into doing the comedy pickup?
So I created the comedy pickup with this guy, Ryder Ollie. I ran a show at Taylor Street Tap, which I'm representing on the show right now. Bar on Taylor Street by University of Illinois Chicago. I tried to set myself up with good lighting. I think I failed. I clearly picked the sunniest spot, so sorry for the shadows. I'll address that momentarily. But yeah, so I had a show going at Taylor Street Tap. We got shut down with COVID in March. The bar shut down across Chicago in March. There was opened in limited capacity through July. Then we got shut down again. And then at that point, the last night we were going to be open as a show in July, kind of understanding that, hey, things are going to be closed for a while or at least limited for a long time. I'm one of the comics who was a regular. He had a pickup, and I had already known about pickup truck comedy as a possible place. So I said, hey, man, you want to do a show out the back of a truck? And he was a chill guy, Ryder Ollie. And, a week later, we got going. We ran a show. We ran it as an open mic at first for a week straight, 7 nights in a row. And then we did a subsequent week of open mics, 5 nights. And then we kind of figured the perfect hybrid is to run it as a showcase 4 nights a week and then an open mic every Friday. So we kind of carried that on through the rest of the summer in Chicago. As it got colder, we figured, hey, let's go on this huge tour. We did a 13 stop tour through the East Coast back to Chicago and then out to Omaha and Denver. Ryder, my co-creator's from Vail. So we finished it up with a couple of days at his family house. Did a couple of things in Chicago in October, some one-off stuff. And then the surge kind of broke up again and it's cold in Chicago. So kind of closed shop at the end of October, right before Halloween. Hoping it gets warm in Chicago again, and that's kind of why I'm south, hoping to prep some, maybe get some warm months in down south before it gets warm in Chicago.
Indeed, most definitely. And you tag teamed on Donovan Donovan. How did you two link up?
So Donovan Mullings is the co Donovan of Donovan and Donovan. He's a great Chicago improviser. He's from Florida. He had his 9 to 5 was at the same company as my 9 to 5. He'd come around. He was working the mailroom, would shoot the shit. He was doing some pretty cool things with improv, and I was kind of getting into stand up full time. And I'd come from improv and had done Second City classes and had been in one show, but had really found my love with stand up. And so he got us kind of plugged into some pretty cool opportunities. We were in this tournament by Anthony McKay ran. He's a Chicago-based improviser. He's been in a bunch of things, the TV show Southside, but in Empire. He had this theater going, this black box at a pretty cool festival, and we ended up coming, I think, in like 3rd place in this tournament, which was like our very first thing we did. Off that, we kind of got asked to just do one-off bookings here and there. So we kind of got a lot of work through that. Got into Second City because of that same thing, just the momentum and the kind of networking Donovan had really done the footwork for. Off the Second City shows, we kept being asked back in bigger capacities, culminating with last year, 2020 start off. We had a 4-week run with Donovan. And right as that ended, I started a 4-week stand-up run in some of the smaller theaters at Second City. But we had great turnout, and I'm actually able to make some pretty good money off that shows, which was pretty nice. Unfortunately, a 1-2 punch. We lost our home base theater, the Crowd Theater, which was a great theater in Chicago, closed February. Next month, COVID happened, and so I kind kind of limited improv opportunities as a whole.
Indeed. And this COVID thing is a pain in the butt. I mean, it's just tearing down from bars to theaters to everything in between. And so, speaking of theaters and bars and such, and everything in between, you've also produced and hosted multiple stand-up and comedy shows throughout Chicago theaters, bars, and alleyways. And
That's
what
the
are your
bio, baby.
indeed? And what are some of your favorite stories from those theaters, bars, and alleyways?
Let's see. I mean, with Taylor Street Tap, we had got started that in January with my co-creator Jeff Brumfield, great Chicago comic, currently nominated for Best Chicago Comic in the Chicago Reader. Great guy. So I'm giving him my shout out. So that show was just, we built a good community. We had a great bartender, Becca Hersick. She's who brought us into the bar. The bar had good management and ownership as well. And actually a community was formed. So we had regulars coming out. So I actually got to meet some people that are just, who support the dream. But with that, I think that helped set as a home base for comedy pickup. So all our open mics were in this field right near the bar. And I think, there's a good 24 people, just through that bar alone that I've met. North Bar, which is kind of this Chicago bar on the north side, Voodoo open mic. I host an open mic there, and I started another open mic, Trenches, which is a Monday night open mic that I hope to continue because I think we can bring a lot of the south side and east side, south side, and west side comics to the north side, which is definitely an important goal for me as a native Chicagoan, is to really bridge all the communities together and kind of make it one city of a scene. It's kind of split between the south side and the north side way more than I'd like it to be. So I'd love to bridge that gap. I think we were doing a great job with the Monday night Trenches mic. Again, the shutdown kind of curtailed those plans for now, but so just kind of the community would be my first off. But there's nights where you go out. So I went out on a work night till 3 a.m. and then woke up at 6:30 a.m. to get to work at 8 a.m. Like, that's living, man. Not enough sleep, too much to drink. It's a way to life, I guess.
Indeed, most definitely. And for our interview today, we're raising funds for Misericordia Chicago. I believe I'm pronouncing that correctly. And why did you pick those fine folks to raise funds for our interview today?
So, yeah, it's Misericordia, but yeah, exactly. You got it right. It's a north side. It's a charity that helps for people with, disabilities and gives them assisted living. Quite a large footprint in Chicago. I want to say it's almost 2 blocks by 2 blocks. It's a large facility. Lots of people live in there. It's a thing they do a lot of good, and the more money you give them, the more good they can do. So any money you can throw at them, it will get used for a proper way. They've been a long-standing Chicago-based charity that does a lot of good, for people who need assisted living in whatever capacity. And it's just a simple one where, hey, if it's a lot of times with charities, I do think maybe out of the use and the effectiveness, but this one, the money's going to a good place. It's going to someone who could use it, or to the next person now that they can maybe add a bed. Best case scenario, I'm sure but they're a decades long established charity in Chicago that does quite a lot of good, and those in Chicago probably have encountered them to some extent because of just how much good they've done.
Excellent, excellent. And so, Donovan, for this next set of questions, I was hoping to ask you, and I've asked all the comedians I've ever interviewed with these following questions. There's 600 of them on my YouTube channel alone. And Donovan, what inspired you to perform stand-up comedy?
I definitely wanted to be a comic all along. You hear in those interviews oh, I never knew it was possible. And I think after a certain year, I just don't buy that as possible, because I mean, Eddie Murphy, Steve Martin were making millions. So, I think it's fun. I've committed to it. I got into it at 13. I think I was 12 when Dane Cook really hit, and I'm not cool enough to act like I wasn't into that at 12, and he wasn't the perfect guy to hit when you're a 12-year-old boy. I moved on past him pretty quickly. I got it, but I mean, good for him for making it accessible. But David Cross was a big early guy. Mitch Hedberg, Emo Phillips, who's from the Chicagoland area. Those were big early guys, and I would work summer jobs from 8th grade on, and it took me about 45 minutes to an hour by bus each way, and I'd be able to kick out a whole album usually, each way. So I was able to digest quite a lot, and it kind of It was a good, easy way to pass the time. Didn't really see any of it. Then I went to college in New York, and I knew about UCB. At that point, it had become established enough that like TV shows like Parks and Rec were already up, so that people were getting famous off it. But they had a Monday night stand-up show, and they didn't card, and they served alcohol. And like I think it was like $3 for a PBR, and it was one of the few bars or a few places I could drink. And I'd see these A-list comedians. I saw like literally everyone from 2010 to 2012. I saw essentially everyone, and it was just pretty. So that was pretty cool. And I'd done it a couple times, and then I knew I'd wanted to do it, but I was kind of just afraid. Had that first night stage fright. Eventually, one of my friends, who just happens to be just an incredibly gorgeous woman, both inside and out, she had wanted to do it the same way, and I knew that if I went with her, people wouldn't hate me and think I'm a monster. That was the rationale in my head. It worked, got me on stage. So I had friends go with me, the first several times, and do it with me the first several times, and then I kind of just got hooked. I went to Cole's open mic is like the biggest mic in Chicago. So the first 6 months I was doing it, it was every Wednesday. I was just going there, not knowing how to really do it, not knowing how much I needed to go up. And then eventually I went to another mic where it was, you don't have to wait so long. You don't have to play so much of the politics. The flip side is there's no one paying attention to you. So you can show up and go up right away, but no one's going to be there to laugh. So I fell in love with that. And once that happened, I started doing it every night.
Most definitely. And what was the feeling like when you first performed stand-up?
So the very, very first time was at my senior year talent show. And I basically wrote a complete joke as a Facebook status, but I understood that this joke was actually a stage joke and it could be delivered on stage. So I went up for my senior talent show, which I went to a giant high school in the city, in the middle of the city, and like 2,500 kids. And there were only going to be like, I think 20 slots for the talent show. So like 100 kids auditioned, 80% got turned down. I got in, and then I kind of dirtied up my act, and like a lot of jokes about sex applied that I got to tell in front of the whole teacher's staff, and like literally a filled auditorium of 600 kids. So I crushed in front of 600 people. Insane laughter. I'll never have, I hope to have that kind of experience again. I haven't had that experience again. I haven't even come close to an audience that size again. But I crushed it, felt the adrenaline. And then like, it was also like a big day socially. So I just had that adrenaline all night. Following up on that summer, I'm, just turning 18, sneaking into bars and open mics in Chicago. This is summer 2010, telling the same jokes I wrote for a high school talent show. And the host is like, hey, you're funny, but you can't tell jokes about being in high school, being in a bar. And then I kind of got discouraged and quit for a bunch of years. And then 23, figured it out again and going full throttle at it pretty much ever since.
Awesome. And what are your favorite comedy specials and comedy record albums?
So in 2010, when I had moved to New York and was going to UCB every week, that was like who I was seeing every week was like John Mulaney, Anthony Jeselnik, Hannibal Buress. So there are 3 early specials, which is John Mulaney's The Top Part, Hannibal Buress's My Name is Hannibal, and then Jeselnik's Shakespeare were like dropped, but they hadn't built up buzz yet. So I was really into those. Todd Barry's stuff, I'm always a huge fan of. Medium Cool is one of my favorites. And then classic Steve Martin, Let's Get Small is great. Huge fan of that. And then David Cross, Shut Up You Fucking Baby was for sure the first, like, whoa, this is the next level. I mean, I was like 12 and I didn't really believe in religion. And he's just like saying this, like, perfect things for an edgy atheist teen. He's speaking what I was thinking the whole time.
Indeed, most definitely. And some of those guys have been on TV and film, and I want to know what your favorite sitcom, sketch shows, and comedy films are.
Definitely think Seinfeld. It's Always Sunny's great. Peep Show is hilarious. The British, it's a great British show. Curb, Family Guy deserve, Simpsons before that probably. I think Sex and the City's underrated. I think it holds its place. I think a lot of people would get behind it that haven't. A lot of guys don't write it off without ever giving it a chance. It's a pretty funny show. Coupling, another great British show. And then as far as funniest movies, I love Blues Brothers, Superbad, Pineapple Express, The Jerk. I try not to be overly pretentious, but I am.
Most definitely. And if you can go on tour with any comedian locally and internationally known, which comedians would you like to go on tour with?
Okay. In terms of internationally known, I'll be Bill Burr. That'd be great. I'd love to open for Bill Burr. Would be pretty much okay. That's the dream. Chappelle, the other dream. If I could bring someone back from the dead, Patrice O'Neill for sure. He'd be my number one. Elephant in the Room also great special. In terms of local, there's some guys I really just enjoy their company, some New York guys too. But for Chicago, I definitely love Reza Joffrey. I think he's one of the funnest people to hang out with. I think Sam Prickett's a fun guy off head. Ryder Ali, the guy I literally went on tour with, was such a chill dude and great for counter to my type A. Really grounded a lot of nights, and I think it was a perfect balance to what I needed. So give a huge shout out to those guys for sure.
Most definitely. And if you can get roasted by 5 comedians, past and present, which comedians would you like to get roasted by?
Patrice O'Neill, number one. Let's see. Patrice O'Neill, Richard Pryor, Don Rickles, Rodney Dangerfield, and Anthony Jeselnik.
Awesome. Great stuff. And you mentioned that you've done improv. And what other forms of comedy would you like to venture off into, like sketch directing, comedy writing, acting, etc.?
I do like filmmaking. I had a web series. I had a short film. I went to film school. I consider that definitely a first passion. If you want to get really heady with me, I look at it as like writing. The genre is comedy. The medium can be anything. So if I can write anything funny and perform it, I'd be happy. Improv is great because you're not writing, you're just living in the moment. So it takes really little headspace in my life, and it's very easy to just go do and be done, especially with Donovan, where I'm really just comfortable with Donovan Mullings. Another guy I'd be willing to go on tour with in a heartbeat. But I don't like doing improv not with him because I don't need to get caught up in some of those team things. I'm totally cool to do solo stuff. I'm cool doing just about anything as long as I don't have to be bothered by the people I'm doing it with.
Most definitely. And where do you see your comedy journey in the next 5 years?
I'm moving to Austin for a month and a week. Comedy pick. I mean, I've done so many. I'm in my late 20s. We're heading on 30 pretty quick. There's been so many one-off things I've tried to get going that fall short here a week later or less, but don't have that hit you want. And then comedy pickup hit a little differently, so that's kind of cool. So I think with this year I'll be able to ride it out a full year, and then 2022 I don't know what it looks like, but I'm a lot more comfortable. I'm very comfortable with my journey and the pace it's been on. I'm still pretty early in, and I've been given some pretty cool opportunities, and I've figured out ways to make pretty cool opportunities that didn't exist, I think.
Most definitely. Indeed. And what is your favorite joke a comic has written?
Favorite? Here's just a quick one. Why was 10 afraid?
Why?
Because he was smack dab in the middle of 9/11.
That's a good one.
Yeah, I see a lot of jokes from my best friends. I think my best friends are funnier than most comics, and I think my best friends, for the most part, are funnier than me. I do think it takes a lot of fucking gut to get up on stage and continue with it through the bullshit where you're gonna, be an outcast for that first year and a half, 2 years. So I do respect that I've actually done that, but most of my friends are funnier than me, and if you hung out with them for a day, you'd realize, like 60% of his act is just his friends, so. But I'm okay with that, and they know I steal from them.
Indeed. And what experience would you like your audience to take with them after a set is over?
I'd love to be able to. I pick outside because of the tropical birds, by the way, and I knew the audio for them would be cool. That's why I sat outside. But I'd love for them at this point with my showcase. I'd love to get my comedy to a place where I can like deliver true messages. At this point with the showcase, it's like, hey, I'm trying to present a platform for good comics to say their piece. Right now, I don't I would love my voice to have more of a meaningful message. Right now, my goal is to, hey, fucking take a load off for the next hour. And we're not going to be able to solve all the world's problems in this next hour. But we can acknowledge they exist, maybe, you know,
Most
you know,
definitely.
and I don't, yeah, exactly. I don't know if it's always necessarily the place of a comedy show to solve the world's problems. I think that's often a lofty goal, which is why we named our improv run at Second City Save the World, because it's like so many comedy shows are trying to save the world, and that's just impossible. Just articulate the problems as best you can, maybe in a funny way.
Most definitely. And Donovan, as you were nominated for as a guest of mine on the Stand Up Speakeasy, that's how you get into the Stand Up Speakeasy. It's like it's a prohibition of the Roaring Twenties. It's a secret society of stand up comics. And Donovan, which comedians, either you can pick Los Angeles and Chicago since you're currently in Los Angeles. Which comics would you like to see me interview on the next few episodes of the Stand Up Speakeasy?
Can I see where are you based again?
Florida.
Florida. Hell yeah, hell yeah. Let's see. I would like to interview. I think one of the most interesting Chicago comics. I'll throw him under the bus. Put on Reza Joffrey. That guy's great. Raza Joffrey. Jfri. You know,
Awesome.
he's an interesting guy. He's been writing a lot of essays with the quarantine, and I think I've been digging them. I've been reading each one of them. So yeah, shout out Raza. And shout out Amber for nominating me. I watched her nomination of me. That she didn't name me, but I got the comedy pickup. I got taken. I wish you would. You could say my name, Amber. I'm kidding.
Indeed. Amber's awesome. I got to meet her when I did 2 shows in Chicago, and she was one of the first Chicago comics I got to meet, and she's a sweetheart.
Oh, far out. When did you come out to Chicago?
It was like 2 years ago. I performed at the Red Line Tap when it was open, and the Annoyance Theater too. So
Oh, hell yes. Very
yeah,
cool.
it was pretty gnarly for those two places. They packed out, and it was cold. It was pretty gnarly, and I made like $3 overall, so it wasn't too bad. So
Oh yeah, as long as you hand someone a couple bucks, I think that's all that matters, right? You got to
yeah,
pay out though. You got to pay out.
indeed, most definitely. And Donovan, thank you so much for being my guest on the Stand Up Speakeasy today, and it means a lot to me. And be sure to follow Donovan and the Comedy Pickup on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, scrolling on the bottom, and donate to the Misericordia Chicago. They're doing some fine work for the folks in Chicago as well. And Donovan, with that being said, are there any final words you'd like to give out to the audience at home today?
Yeah, come see my shows if you can. Where you're South Florida? Are you South Florida based?
Central, like really
Orlando?
close. They
How's
would
the
love
scene
you
right
in.
now?
I'm sorry.
How's your scene right now? Is it shut down? Is
No,
it
it's
open?
wide open.
All
It's
right, I might be coming.
Yeah, it'd be fantastic. Daytona would love you guys. Like that's where I'm primarily
Yeah,
based.
that's the thing is like I love how, and I mean like with the comedy pickup, you look at how a country's laid out. I love how many cities Florida has and how many, especially that part where you got Daytona. You're not too far from Orlando. Like, there's that whatever town that's like a mix of Orlando, Del Rondo or whatever, and then there's halfway between Daytona and Orlando, there's Gainesville. There's a lot of shit you could bounce around, hit some spots, right?
Absolutely.
All right,
I would
hell yeah,
love
I'm checking out that part of the country. I'm coming for you.
Indeed. And if you ever need any connections, I'll hook you up with all the connections. Like everyone knows me from Miami to Tallahassee and the Panhandle because I've interviewed everybody. So it's like whatever you need, I got you.
Hell yeah, I'm coming from Miami to Tallahassee. I'm going. I'm running it. Yeah.
Awesome. Fantastic, Donovan. Thank you so much for being my guest today. And it means a lot to me and it means the world. And I can't wait to see you either in Florida or wherever our paths will cross.
All right. If not Florida, come back out to Chicago.
Absolutely, we'll do. Actually, I'll be there in October, so I'll hold you on to that. So,
all right, looking forward to it, man. Have a good one.
Cool. Thanks. Take care, Donovan. Be well, and for everyone else, we'll see you on the next Stand Up Speakeasy. Be well, everyone. Wear a mask and take care of each other.